Hey everyone, and welcome to the Relationship Circle podcast. I'm your host, Beck Thompson, and this podcast is all about showing you how to stop running in circles, ditch those games, and let your inner compass lead the way. Today, we're going to be exploring a crucial aspect of finding love, and that is the balance between people pleasing and setting healthy boundaries. There is so much power in setting boundaries, and I often have women say to me how strong they feel when they voice what's important to them and have it respected. And I know that a lot of you might have had the opposite happen, and that's okay. We'll work forward from that. But it's so powerful when you're able to express what is important to you and what you need and have the other person hear you and respect you. And that is my absolute goal for all of you. So people pleasing is when you essentially put everyone else above yourself. So you lose yourself in relationships and you end up attracting wrong partners because you say yes to things you wish you'd said no to. You kind of just let things slide that you know you're not okay with deep down, but you don't want to hurt the other person. You don't want to make them feel uncomfortable. You've got this. You're the strong one. There's so many sayings that I hear people say around people pleasing that essentially mean that you're saying that you don't matter. And that's not true. You do matter. So it's really important to know how to set those healthy boundaries so that you can build healthy relationships and have self-respect and have people respect you. So boundaries are essentially, letting someone know what you're okay with and not okay with. And they're really important in healthy relationships, in all relationships. This isn't just about romantic relationships. And what you'll find as you work through setting healthy boundaries is that they need to cut across every area of your life. I'll quite often start working with women around setting healthy boundaries in relationships, but then not long after that, we'll get into work relationships and family relationships and friendships, because how you do one thing is how you do everything, particularly in boundaries. So that's what we'll get into today. I have a client that I was working with who was having people walk all over her, and she was really scared to tell people what she needed or what she wanted because she didn't want to upset people. And I do remember her saying to me, "Don't worry, I can handle it. I'm strong," But really it was about not wanting to rock the boat, not wanting to upset the other people, make them feel uncomfortable. It was just easy if she felt like she handled all the uncomfortableness. But that theme just meant that she was at the bottom of the barrel there. Like her needs were put last and it was starting to impact her. And like I said before, this cut across every area of her life. It wasn't just romantic relationships. It was all connected. So we started working on voicing boundaries in all areas of her life. And firstly, it started with work because it was safe for her to say no to meetings at work that she didn't feel like it was necessary that she attended. I'm sure many of you have been there where you attend these meetings that you think, why am I here? And are we just having a meeting to have the next meeting? So that was the first way that we got her to set boundaries was, let's say no to the meetings at work that you don't feel are important to you and see how that makes you feel. I still remember the first time she did that. That was really uncomfortable. She was able to do it via email. And actually, no, she had a conversation with her boss firstly about what she attended and didn't attend. And then it was decided that she could not go to some of them. But the first time she had this conversation, she was able to say it, but she was feeling really anxious about the response. And so that is really normal. It's really normal to voice what you need and then to feel not okay with it or to feel some sort of guilt or nervousness about it. That's very, very common and normal. The next way we looked at her setting boundaries was to say no to hanging out with friends that she wasn't up to hanging out with. So this included even if she'd said yes first. I know so many of you just get asked for something and then you go, yes, automatically, and don't take time to think about it. So, I'd encourage you to take a break before you respond and say yes. You don't have to say yes to every engagement that happens. And so it was about her saying no to her friends. And again, that was really anxiety provoking in the beginning, but that's okay. She learned how to sit with that uncomfortableness around it because this was about her reclaiming her time and putting herself first. So this snowballed to the point where she was able to communicate to men that what she was okay with and not okay with in dating, and her boundaries were getting stronger and stronger, and so was she. And it was just really cool to witness, because I remember even her voice changing, like her voice being quite timid. And I always would say to her, if I tell you to do something that you're not okay with doing, I need you to tell me that you're not okay with it, because that is a pivotal example of how you can voice your boundaries. Do it with me. It's safe to do it with me. I'm going to respect that, first of all. So, if you feel like I've given you a task to do that you're not okay with, then tell me. And I noticed her voice get stronger. It started off being really timid and shy, and it just came across as more confident because she felt like she was getting stronger because she was putting in these boundaries. There wasn't this like dramatic backlash like she'd imagined there would be. And it was getting easier for her. And it was just so beautiful to watch. And this resulted in her attracting the most beautiful, thoughtful relationship that she just felt heard and loved for being herself. And it's so beautiful. Brené Brown, the queen of boundaries, says boundaries are not walls, they're bridges that connect us to healthier relationships. And I just think that's a really important quote, because quite often when we set these boundaries, we think, are we putting up these barriers between us and other people? Are we going to stop the connection? It actually makes connection stronger because you're voicing, everyone's kind of clear on where they stand. So you're voicing what you need and what you want, and people know how to respond to that. When it's kind of like, I'm okay with it, I think I'm okay with it, that's really hard for people to know what's okay and not okay. So it's not about stopping people, it's about stopping the behavior that you're not okay with. So let's get into how to make this a reality for you. If you find yourself putting everyone above yourself, I'd encourage you to start small, like make it manageable. I recently read the book Atomic Habits, and he speaks about if you can get 1% better each day for 1 year, then you'll end up 37 times better by the time you're done. And it's only about like when you look back that you notice the difference in those habits or those skills that you're wanting to put into place. So I'd firstly get you to reflect on times when you said yes, when you'd wish you'd said no. And even if you do it now, like even if you and not ready to set boundaries, but you are aware that you're saying yes instead of no. I just want you to know, how does that feel for you? How does that feel in your body? What does it mean that you've done that? Like, what does it mean for you? Because everybody's different and everybody's boundaries are different. But I just want you to feel into, what does it feel like when you say yes, when you wish you'd said no? What do you wish you'd done differently? This is the awareness that we spoke about in the last episode. So when you reflect on those past experiences, have a think about that. And also have a think about when you compromised your boundaries. What do you wish you'd done differently? If you had someone speak to you in a way that you weren't comfortable with and you just let it slide because you thought, oh, it's only once, I don't want to rock the boat, I want them to like me, I don't want, to upset them. How did that feel for you that you put yourself last there? And then I want you to practice saying no. Like, how does it feel to you? And it's okay if it feels uncomfortable in the first place. It probably will. If you're not used to saying no and you start saying no, you'll probably feel really weird, really awkward, really uncomfortable, really anxious, and that's okay. I'd rather you do the action and then sit in the uncomfortability of the feeling. And then implement your boundaries. If someone talks to you in a way that you find disrespectful, communicate that. If someone calls you by the wrong name, and they didn't mean to, communicate that. If someone, even this, right? I had a client the other day who said people were talking a lot in the office and she was finding it really hard to work. Communicate that. Like, not that it's just her office, but if they don't know that you're not okay with the loud talking and you're finding it hard to get work done, how do they know to do anything differently? Like, just have a think about what you're okay with and not okay with and communicate that with people. And be clear with boundaries. I always say to clients, be firm and kind. I don't need you to be a hard ass. You can say it with kindness, but just make sure you use clear, direct language that has no wiggle room. You don't want people to, you don't want it to be wishy-washy. You want it to be really clear around what you're okay with and not okay with. And this is not, it doesn't mean, I quite often get people say to me, but that's like mean, or it's harsh, or it might feel that way if you're used to saying yes to everyone and making everyone around you feel comfortable. It might feel that way, but it's not. It's actually a really important step in healthy relationships, all relationships. I do have to warn you, though, that sometimes relationships don't last the test of boundaries. But really, are those relationships worth having in your life if you're putting yourself last? Are they? So just question that. And again, this is up to you, right? This is your life. So what I'm okay with and not okay with could be very different to what you're okay with and not okay with. But I just want you to be honest with yourself and put yourself first. And there also might be like backlash or conflict, or you might feel guilt or sadness when you express your needs because it's so different to how you would normally show up and behave, and that's okay. It's okay for it to come up, and it's okay for you to still put boundaries in place. They can coexist together. Have that self-compassion and know that you're doing the best thing for you and for them. I would suggest getting a good support system in place so you feel like someone has your back and you can start to grow in your strength of setting boundaries and walking away from that people pleasing. And if you don't have that system, I've got a free Facebook group called The Dating Circle. Join that group because you'll get the support you need in there. To sum everything up that we've spoken about, it's becoming aware and taking action to put yourself first and then sitting with what comes next, whether that be criticism or you feeling empowered. Either way, setting the boundary is the right thing to do for you. It's because you're worth it. You deserve to feel heard and deserve to have your needs met. And life is too short for this not to happen and for you not to be in a beautiful, loving, respectful relationship. Next episode, I'm going to talk about past relationship traumas and how we can move past them. So if that's something you've experienced, I'd love you to join me, and I'll see you then.